What's up, man? How are you?
Good. How are you, bud?
How was Italy?
Italy was A plus 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 plus.
So
Phenomenal.
had you ever been there before?
No.
What do you besides having a good time, did you learn anything?
Yeah, there's lots of history. We did a lot of tours, learned, they never got bombed during World War II. So like a lot of stuff is still up. That's why there's so much of that great art and great architecture still standing. So it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal over there.
It's funny you say that. My son was in London for a little while, and one of the things that he commented on was the difference in that, right? In that he would see old buildings that actually you can still see where bombs had hit these buildings. There's chunks taken out of it, and it was pretty cool for him to touch it and sort of, I don't know, feel that energy of that. Life isn't, life as it has existed isn't what you know of it in this moment. People went through things that hopefully you'll never have to go through.
Yep, absolutely. But it's
How about any sort of cultural differences you're noticing between the things that us Americans worry about every day and maybe what you see over there?
They eat a lot later, they smoke a lot of cigarettes, and they take their tourism and their the service industry very seriously. So you're treated wonderfully over there.
Is the nicotine the reason why they're not generally overweight like a bunch of Americans?
One of our drivers literally asked me, "Why don't more Americans smoke?"
Right. And what was your answer?
I said maybe because it's not good for you, and we know that. But he was perplexed by that.
He's like, yeah, but on average, you guys are like 100 pounds heavier than we are, and you're dying of cardiovascular disease. They may be dying of cardiovascular disease for different reasons.
They eat carbs, but they're not highly processed like ours.
Yeah, and they're smoking all day, which is keeping the weight off. Their teeth are yellow and they're more wrinkly than we are, maybe. We should probably change the subject.
And this is all
Hey,
being recorded. Hold on, this is all being recorded right now.
oh, that's how the walk rolls. Your son was recorded as soon as you logged in.
I'll give you his name separately when we're done recording. You can tag him in this. He'll love it.
Maybe I'll do a special episode, like a special clip of it just for him, and then not
He'll
embarrass him to the world.
That'll be great. That'll be great.
Hey, I was thinking about something. As we speak, the mastermind conference is going on in Vegas, which I should be there, but I'm not there. My schedule didn't work out. And I'm getting text messages from people that are asking me, where are you? Are you out here? And it's great because I'm hearing from people that I need to follow up with anyway. You've for those that don't know you, you built a division from scratch into a highly profitable, very high volume division in a very competitive part of the country in the mid-Atlantic. But I never knew you to be one that was a conference guy.
I was not. I always felt like keeping laser focused on my business separate from all of that. And look, I'm a big reader, podcast consumer, consumer of business information. I love it. It's a hobby. It makes me a huge nerd probably, but I was never, not that I didn't think there was value. I just thought that it was always more value in keeping my head down and moving forward with staying hyper focused on what we were doing.
As you look back a little bit, do you think that maybe going to some of those could have been valuable?
I think the answer is yes and no for me. I think if I could have pre-vetted who the speakers were, there's some people I'd really like to have heard and spent time with, but I also know that there's a lot of fluff filled in some of these. No offense to any specific one, including the one going on right now. I haven't been, so I'm not calling anybody out specifically, but a couple of days of being out of the office to listen to speakers, unless it's going to be valuable, I'm not saying it's the right way, but it's the way I've done it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I actually never thought about that with you until I was thinking about today and the fact that Mastermind is going on right now. And I agree with you. I think everybody that's ever been to a conference would agree that there's a few speakers they want to see, and they'll have a couple that are surprising. Hey, I didn't know that was going to be worth listening to, and I'm glad I saw it. And then a bunch where, especially mortgage bankers, they're all on their phones dealing with their pipelines and putting out fires when they maybe should be paying attention to something that could create value. I guess one of the reasons why it surprises me a little bit about you when I think back is that you're such a you're so willing to meet new people. You're so willing to engage in banter and back and forth and share ideas, even if you don't end up working with someone, what's working and what's not working, which is what I always attempt to do when I go to these conferences, right? Is to come back with knowledge that maybe I didn't have and try to pass along knowledge that somebody didn't have. You're more of I think you've always been more of a sort of hand-to-hand combat on a day-to-day basis. But I don't know. I think that maybe that scene missed out on not having you hang around for a
I
little bit.
appreciate you saying that, but look, I've been, I'm a student of our industry. I'm a student of business. I'm a student of our industry. I think I'm pretty well versed. I mean, there's some probably that are more well versed, and some definitely that are less well versed. But maybe in hindsight, if I could go back in time, I'd get involved in a little more. But the results have been good throughout my career, so it's kind of worked for me the way I've done it.
Well, there's definitely a balance, right? I mean, you do too much and it completely is a distraction. And especially if you have a little bit of weak fortitude, so to speak, and that there's always that idea that the grass is greener doing, now I don't mean leaving companies, but even just doing something a different way. I mean, there's something to be said for consistency in what it is you're attempting to do. And I think that's something you've always done, which is just keep being consistent, move forward. Don't get emotional about something you think isn't working. It may actually be working, and this is just part of the process.
Well, look, you and I, between the two of us, without putting our resumes up on screen, over the last 20 something years, we've each had 2 jobs each.
Yeah, that's right.
But,
Does mine even count?
I don't know, but I've had 2 in 22 years, 2 spots, and they've both been successful and different ways. And I think staying focused in it and on it, in it and on it being a little different, working in your business and on your business. I don't know. I'm happy with the results, I guess. I'm happy with my work-life balance too. And traveling for traveling's sake is, not always been my favorite thing. Maybe that's part of it too. I'm a homebody. Look, I'm working from my home office today, even though the background's blurred.
That's right. Well, you made me think of something. So when you think about working in your business versus working on your business, do you think that's one of the biggest challenges that you find with producers, managers, maybe this industry as a whole, especially on the sales side?
I think it's always been that way. I mean, not to pick on anybody, but if we're going to generalize, I think it's always been that way. And that's 20 years ago. I mean, I've been in the business since 92, by the way. I started in mortgages in 92. But even back then, pre-internet, way different technological landscape, way different ways to market. Still the same thing. You've got to step back sometimes and then get back in it. You got to step back and get back in it. You got to create a healthy balance. Time blocking was important back then. Time blocking is important now. That doesn't change. The stuff you do during the time blocking changes, but learning the time block to be sometimes in and sometimes on and not get interrupted and whittle away a day. I've always joked with originators that I've worked with. 40 hours is a lot of hours in a week if you're actually working the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
That's, not that some don't work more, not that some don't work less, but 40 is plenty of time if you're working. 40 hours of work is a lot of time. But, you can wipe, how people are in general in business. You can wipe out a half a day that quick.
Yeah, you can. It's also funny how, like, in speaking from someone who's, continuing to build upon a tech platform, even technology can be the greatest differentiator when it comes to efficiencies and giving you time back. Yep. It can also be a rabbit hole that can suck the life out of you because you just stay inside of a component of you can tell yourself that you're working when in fact you're just constantly researching and not putting that research into development.
Well, it's funny. I mean, let's talk about talking to our kids, and we'll transition back into you running a tech platform. Sometimes you got to put the technology in a drawer, literally or figuratively.
Mm-hmm.
Put it away in the drawer and be present into what you're doing, whether that's with your work-life balance, your family, your friends, or something you're working on. This rabbit hole can pull you away from the good technology on a different screen that you should be working in. Right. Here, you're ready. Shameless plug for Model Match. If I'm looking at my phone and Instagram while over on this monitor, I've got Model Match open. Am I really working in Model Match at that point? Not really. You got to put it in the drawer, man. Put it in the drawer.
That's a great quote. Put it in the drawer, because I see that as sort of I see that as a quote that relates to then just get to work, right? Go, you find the action. You know, I put out comments sometimes around action over everything, or, you know, the data creates no value if you don't do something with it. And if I'm an investor in Model Match, I probably don't like to hear Eric say that, because so much of our environment is the data. It is the market intelligence. It is the efficiencies of being able to identify and engage just with those opportunities that maybe line up with you. But the fact is, identifying isn't going to get you the outcome you want. You still have to do the work necessarily. I think what you're saying is that, you know, a lot of what you started off doing in 92 is still the stuff that works to help you convert.
Amen. Amen. And look, you know, I had a business coach, a coach years ago tell me, and it still applies today, anything can wait 20 or 30 minutes. We get so conditioned as a good salesperson in any environment, and we get conditioned as users of technology that everything has to be immediate. 20 to 30 minutes is not going to typically lose you a sale in any sales environment, whether you're a loan officer, whether you're selling mortgage technology, whether you're selling widgets or cars. 20 to 30 minutes usually doesn't lose you a sale. You know, 24 hours might lose you a sale if you're unresponsive, but if you're in something and your phone's upside down, you know, figuratively in the drawer, and you're working and you're grinding, and then you lift your head up 30 minutes later and, oh, there's this message from Eric, I should reach out to him. There's a sales opportunity. I didn't lose that sale because I got back to you 30 minutes later. I might lose it. I might have lost the opportunity if I didn't get back to you till tomorrow at 3:12 in the afternoon, you know, but I think I learned a lot from that, and I'd still try to apply that. You know, if I'm eating dinner, phone's in the drawer.
Yeah.
You know, and I that's figurative now. In the old days when my kids were little, they would put it in a drawer. Now it's upside down, and God help me if I look at it. You know,
Is it God help you, or is it Nicole help you? That's right. I know. Look, I'm with you. Okay, let's go back to Dean Johnson when he was in high school or early college. And what did you want to be? What did you think you would be doing?
You know, I don't know. I wanted to run something. I always consider, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. When I was young, high school, college, and working and having, you know, part-time jobs and all that, I always considered myself one of the greatest employees ever. I gave it everything I had, and I knew that people I worked for liked me and thought I did a great job. But I always wanted to not be an employee. I think that's really the only thing I can identify. I wanted to be responsible for my own outcomes. You know, and I don't know that necessarily meant I wanted to own a business, or I wanted to run a business, or I wanted, you know, what it meant tactically. I just knew I wanted to have control over my own outcome, good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I embarked on that right around 30 years old, and it's never looked back. I mean, look, where I'm working now, I'm working for a great company. I'm an employee. I don't own the company, but I'm responsible for my own outcome without getting too deep into how it works here at Direct Mortgage Loans. But, you know, I'm responsible for my outcome. I got to produce to survive, you know, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that's in your blood, or it's not. We could go down a P&L rabbit hole where, you know, I think that the mortgage industry, and I'm not to say that there's not good P&L models. There are plenty of good P&L models, but, you know, the P&L, the net branch, which we can't say that anymore, but the P&L model, in my opinion, was really designed to be a recruiting tactic, essentially, to show someone how they can make more money. But if you're not being honest with them, you're not showing them also the amount of work and intelligence that it takes to be able to effectively manage that P&L so that you can make more money. And truthfully, that's not actually what most people want.
Well, running a business, the way I always put it, and, you know, if you have to kind of explain it to somebody, they're not really an entrepreneur anyway, but wanting to run a business, or wanting to run, or a P&L, the way I always offered it up was to run a P&L, run a business within a business. You know, running a business or running a business within a business, however you want to say it, that's, you know, it's not always just about more money. It's about control, which potentially could lead to more money, but you're dictating your own outcome without rules, you know, less rules, so to speak, where you're making your own rules. And I think that was as appealing to me as the opportunity to make more money. They're a little different.
But you're leaving something out. You're leaving it out because it's normal to you, but you're leaving out the risk component to that. You're not asking someone else to eliminate your risk. You're assuming the risk to be able to have the opportunity for the reward. But look, man, I've got to assume through the course of your career, you've had some upside down P&Ls and you've had to eat it.
Totally. You and I, well, you know that you and I have talked about it. Totally. But it's looking at things over a longer time frame, not this far. And that's what, people that think they may want to get involved in running a P&L or think they want to run their own business, you have to talk to them about risk and be very realistic about it. There is risk, but if you take I've felt if you're willing to delay gratification, which I have been in my career, and you're willing to take a longer time, longer chronological look at what's going on, I think that to me, the way I'm wired, the benefits far outweigh the risks.
So backing up a little bit, you and I got introduced forever ago. You built.
I thought about that, by the way. I'm going to cut you off.
We still look exactly the same.
Exactly the same with your baseball hat on. But
we're trying to look like a child.
Dude, it was I was thinking about it today. I think it's around 15 or 16 years ago. It's a long time in the mortgage industry. It's around that.
It's a long time in the mortgage industry. And like it normally is in the mortgage industry, what the beauty of that is we were introduced by someone else that we both have a lot of, some love for sure. And that we both still call a mentor and a friend in this business. That's one of the things I love the most about the business is those moments where someone says, hey, there's somebody I want you to meet. And there's no intent. There's no agenda. It's just, man, I like you. I trust you. I like you. I trust you. I'm surprised you guys don't know each other. Maybe this then relates to what I'm getting ready to ask you.
Please.
You grow this region, this division for a company headquartered out of Salt Lake. You grow it in the Mid-Atlantic from scratch. What was the height? What was the height of that volume and headcount?
Got $1.5 billion twice in a year in a pretty compressed geography and up 180, 200 people. Roughly.
And that included operations soup to nuts, really.
Yep.
Right.
Totally. Yeah. We plugged into them and they took everything from after funding to into securitization.
So through that, and probably even more so now, I would guess people would probably ask you this, maybe younger mortgage bankers, entrepreneurs, if you had to pick out the 2 or 3 things that were like, hey, these were the things that I really got right along the way that helped the group and yourself get to that moment, what are some of the things that stand out?
Well, number one, it's always about people. If you find the right people, you can if you find the right person, you usually can find a good spot for them if they're the right kind of people. But balancing sales and ops, I think, has been crucial. And the company I'm with now, we got that right at my last company. The company I'm with now, we get it right. You can't really I found that most of the companies over the years that have kind of washed themselves out overbalanced one over the other, over prioritized, where sales ran it so hard that they did loans they shouldn't do, or they were so ops driven, they became bureaucratic and slow and cumbersome. And trying to balance the two and giving everybody an equal voice, I think, is crucial. I still think that's crucial today, by the way. So we did get that right. The company I was with before, they're still going strong, that group. So they're still getting it right. And we're getting it right where I am now. It's I think that's a big one. And, hire slow, fire fast, there's a lot of different ways to put that. I think that's a crucial one, taking your time. Sometimes the deal you don't do, it's really hard when you're trying to grow something to realize that sometimes the deal you don't do is better than the deal you do. I mean, I've had some big swing and misses over the years. Plenty. We could do a whole nother podcast just on that. But taking my time meant I limited those. I think if I look back over the 20 some years, and weighed the wins versus the losses, the pluses versus the minuses, taking my time led to having more pluses than minuses, I think.
I feel like something else that I've watched you do was that you seem to generally do a good job of bringing in people that see things from a different perspective than you do, and allowing those voices in the room and not thinking that you always have the right answer.
Well, I think life isn't all that interesting when you only hang around with a bunch of people that see the world exactly like you. I think life, business, anything, it gets a little boring and less interesting and less profound. I think things are more profound when you have a holistic view on things. And by holistic, I mean multiple people with different ways of looking at it, different ages, different sexes, different backgrounds, different all of it. You know, if you get a lot of diverse voices, you know, empowered voices in the room, you get a better outcome. I totally believe that. You know, look at you and I are about same age, same interests. If we built a business and it was a bunch of you and me's and nothing else, it would, you know,
would be, I can tell you, for me, it would be a complete train wreck disaster. I'd be starving and my wife wouldn't be with me anymore. That's probably what would have happened.
But you know what's funny, man? I think life's more interesting too. I think you get more interesting conversations if you really listen. I think you get more interesting outcomes. I think, you know, there's more longevity there when people feel like they can really open up and say what they really think. Because sometimes even when they open up and say the dumbest thing that ends up being the worst idea, at least they felt empowered to say it. At least they felt empowered, like they could get it out, because then once in a while it ain't the dumbest thing. It's the smartest thing you ever heard.
Yeah. You know, one of the things I'm curious and maybe a little bit excited about with the mortgage industry. And when I say mortgage, real estate and real estate finance, because I think the two are so obviously they're so closely related, is that we're going through this sort of washing of people that have been in the business for a long, long time. Maybe they just made another little run and they don't want another up and down, and it's time to either go do something else or retire. Maybe they put their money away so they can be in a position to do that. But my feeling is that the industry got stagnant with not only diversity of human beings, ages, ethnicity, race, just culture overall, but also diversity of thought. And it feels like there's a pretty mad dash in diversity of thought. If you really pay attention right now, there's some really impressive people that come from very different walks of life that ended up in this industry that are bringing things to this industry. It'll be interesting to see how the industry evolves, with that. And I think that's something that you've always, whether it's diversity of ethnicity or race or religion or whatever, the thought and coming at you with ideas and you not being afraid to say, well, let's put that on the whiteboard and talk about it versus just saying no. So I want to ask another question though. We talked about the things that you felt like you did really well. What are some of the things that you look back on and think, boy, I didn't do that very well?
Well, taking one's time can lead to missed opportunities. So, I've missed opportunities over the years. I mean, and nor do I, and by the way, I'm not sitting here today saying the group I'm with right now is perfect, nor am I implying the group I built at the old place that it was perfect. It wasn't.
Doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. So, you pointed out earlier the question, why didn't you attend more industry stuff? Why weren't you out there listening? Is that I had success while I was doing what I was doing, but there's misses there. There's misses. There's learning out there that somehow didn't cross my feed, cross my brain, cross my path, and create, just trying to absorb as much as you can. It's one of the lessons I tell my kids. And if they're watching, hopefully they'll see some of this. Absorb as much as you can, man. Listen. 2 ears, 1 mouth, listen twice as much as you talk. I think that's a great lesson for anybody in any industry, especially somebody starting out. So look, I had failures. I mean, I tried to learn from them. So I don't have any regrets. So while there are some things that maybe we didn't do so hot, I don't have any regrets. And I feel like I've learned from every outcome. So that's trying to turn a negative into a positive in answering your question.
Yeah. Well, fine. I mean, that's what successful people do. You absorb the failures and you try to turn those failures into something positive, or else you didn't take advantage of that failure at all. Like, everything we do should lead to something else. I mean, there is no summer break, man. I mean, we there's always the next thing, or else you're done. You're basically putting yourself out of business. So you go through, you're with the same company for a long time. You build up something successful. You could have just sat on your hands and you wrote it out, probably, maybe with some ebbs and some flows and some peaks and some valleys, but you decided to make this move to direct, direct mortgage loans. Direct had
Yep.
been around for a little bit, but a small company, a company that, you know, brought in you and another key leader to kind of maybe for that same reason, like, you know, hey, we're ready for some diversity of thought and some new engagement. Well, what was what was that process like for you? Because that couldn't have been easy after, you know, doing the same thing with the same company for so long.
Look, I was running a division. I was out in the field running a group for a company that did, you know, I did great there, and they did right by me. But I wasn't on the leadership team of the company itself. And this opportunity now, I mean, look, I don't know if you can see in there's the gray hairs right there, Eric. I won't say how old I
See
am,
them
but
all in my
they're
face
in
now.
there.
I got it. Yeah.
It was time for. I was at the end of my road there, and I left there by myself. I'm now in a executive leadership position at a company. Yes, smaller, based in Baltimore, Maryland, where I'm from, where I was born and raised. And it was a different kind of opportunity to help shape a whole company as opposed to just shaping a division out in the field, which there's nothing right or wrong with either one, but it was time to try something different. And myself and another guy you mentioned, his name's Jan Oska. He was the president of NFM Lending. You know, his story's a different one than mine, but we both joined at around the same time, and we're having a heck of a time. And company's doing phenomenally. Actually, I don't know when this will air, but last month was, you know, the biggest month in the history of the company. We've had, you know, doing a lot more business than we were doing a year ago, and it's really going well. And it's different kinds of challenges, man. I've learned, you know, what's funnier, a lot of things I didn't know about how companies are run, a lot of things I didn't know about the back end, you know, things I understand, things I knew existed, but I didn't manage them. And now I'm learning to manage them. So there's new things, new challenges, new opportunities happening all the time. So some of the things which here's air quotes, expertise I brought in certain things, I'm not working on some of that. And I'm helping manage and lead things that I'd never led before. So it's a whole different set of challenges and opportunities and learning and fun along the way.
So we were talking both of we're talking about our kids, but as you think about your kids, and I realize they've got their own passions and things that they're skilled at, but if one of your kids came to you and said, "Hey, I want to get into this business. I want to originate and at least start there," would you encourage it? Would you point him in a different direction? How would that
No,
conversation go?
I'm a look, I'm a believer in the industry. I am. I'm still bullish on this industry. And anybody watching this, I could talk about that for hours. I still think it's a great place to be. I think there's plenty of opportunity in the future. Look, the fact that the industry shrunk a bit right now from the COVID highs and the rates are a bit higher, there's going to purge people, but it's not going to purge the best people. No offense to anybody that it did purge, by the way, but it's going to purge people. It's going to shrink it, but there's still going to always be a housing market. And yeah, I would give them the pros. I would give them the cons. I'd give them the where the pitfalls could exist. But absolutely, one of my kids actually does. The oldest one does work in this industry as a loan officer or a loan partner. You know, assisting one of our bigger loan officers at direct mortgage loans, and he's doing great with it. But I was very clear to him. You know, you got to give it a year. You got to try it out. Maybe for you, it may not be. You know, there's different paths you can take. You know, on the admin side, on the sales side. But he's loving it, and I'm a big fan of the industry. Would I want all three of them to do it? No, I think they need to find their own paths. But any young person that was looking for something, I'm still a big fan of this industry, man. Still am.
One of the things that I've been saying a lot lately that you probably are maybe learning or watching through your son is you know, when things get a little stagnant in your business, or maybe there's market conditions that you can't control and things are a little challenging. I mean, look, we got inventory, we got rates, and there's plenty that we can complain about. But at the same time, at the end of the year, I spoke at a company sales rally, and I had been introduced to three of their LOs that had been in the business less than a year. So three rookies, basically. And well, three rookies. And all of them in their first less than 12 months had produced anywhere from 10 to 14 million in volume. And that nobody handed them a book of business. Nobody handed them referral partners. And I was actually up on stage and used 5 minutes to just call them out and just impromptu. How did you do it? Like, what was it that you did? And the only thing that was maybe new to someone who's been in the business for 20 years was their use of technology on the front end of that process for identifying opportunities and being efficient with those that they were then going to engage with. But everything that happened next was engagement, follow up, follow through, build trust, create a great customer experience with that first one, and ask for the business, right? Don't just show up with popcorn in your hands. So what I loved about that was, to all of you in the room, is kind of what I said, all of you in the room that have been doing this for 10, 15, 20 plus years that are complaining about the market, are you thinking with your rookie brain like these are, like these three are? And so I'm curious where, as you coach people through a difficult quarter or year, do you see value in that?
Absolutely, yes. One of the internal lines we've been using at Direct, I'm going to give credit. It wasn't my line, but it's written on my board. It's written a couple places in the office, and I say it all the time. And I've actually said it to other people in other industries. My friend Jan Oska, who we were talking about, who's with us, he says, and this is in quotes, create so much activity that success is the only reasonable outcome.
That's great.
Meaning, if it used to take you 5 calls to generate one deal, and it now takes you 20 to generate one deal, make the 20, actually make 100 and do 5 deals, but do so much activity that success is the only reasonable outcome, that at the end of a week, you can lay your head on the pillow and say, I did everything I could possibly do to generate. And next week I'm going to do it again. Look, this is another Dean joke, Eric. The young version of myself, the one without the gray hair, used to think that when you reach certain plateaus, whatever they were, because everybody's perception in their head is different of what success looks like. But it was always, when I reach a certain plateau, it's going to be glamorous. There's no glamour out here, dude.
That's right.
There's none. You can hit 1 billion, you can hit 2, you can hit 5, you can hit 10. There's nobody stops and hits timeout and comes trumpeting into my house over here with rose petals and balloons.
Right.
No. The trash still has to go out. The sun still comes up hopefully tomorrow, and you get out of bed and you got to do it all over again. It's just like you and I talk about with exercise. The most fit people are the ones with the least amount of glamour.
Those are 2 fantastic quotes. I love that.
My son, one of my sons, runs track.
Yep.
Collegiately. He's good. He's not one of the top guys in the country, but he's high level.
He's legit. Yeah.
He's good. But nobody saw in high school when it was midwinter in the mid-Atlantic, and he was out running 7 miles after school on a Tuesday night in February.
Right.
He came home with chapped face, chapped lips, starving, snot, like crusted on his face. There's no glamour there. Yeah, he gets to win a race a couple of weeks later, but there's no, he's got to get, and you know what he has to do the day after that? He has to do it again.
That's right.
There was something that hit me about that. That was like 7 or 8 years ago. It hit me. It's like, holy crap, there's learning here. You just got to wake up and do it again.
Man, you put that sort of savage mentality together with the technology that's at your fingertips today that we didn't have when we first started. When I was sitting in a cubicle going through a call sheet, it was a call sheet, 95% of which had no value. I had to call to find the 5%. And then if I called so many times in a row that I had tremendous exhaustion, by the time I hit the one that actually could have value, I could screw it up because I allowed my exhaustion to not take that next phone call seriously. I used to say, every day you walk in the door, there's a magic number and you don't know what it is and it changes tomorrow. Meaning, if your magic number today was 37, it's that 37th touch that's going to be the one that puts you in a position to get the next loan or win the new referral partner or win the new recruit. And I don't mean win the recruit. I just mean win the meeting for the recruit. There's still a whole lot more work that needs to be done. If the number's 37, but you walk in the door and you only make 36 touches, you never knew that your next call was the one that was going to hit. And by the way, tomorrow, that doesn't mean it's your first call because it starts back over and your magic number might be something.
I heard
different.
A great podcast. One of the guys who runs our company, Mike Naylor, sent it to me. It was the owner of the Ravens, Steve Bisciotti, who had a recruiting company. He would tell his guys, start calling at 9 and work hard to get that no, because our data tells us that and I think the number was 22, that you make a sale for every 22 no's. So get that first. Just the goal is to get to 22. as early
Yeah.
as you can in the day, because 122 is what our numbers have proved over a long period of time. So start working your butt off early in the morning to get the no as quickly as you can, because that's the quicker you're going to get to a win.
I have a buddy that's a regional manager up in the Mid-Atlantic, Dave Hendrickson, who's been on this podcast before, and he said the same thing. He said, when he first started, when he was first grinding as an originator, he would at the end of the day, he would count his no's. But he knew the bigger that number was, the bigger the number was on the other side also. How have you seen, I know that you and I know each other. You're a user of our technology and Model
Yep.
Match. There's other technology platforms out there as well, but how have you seen tech, data, market intelligence help increase efficiencies so that those numbers actually change a little bit? Because like I was just saying about my call sheet back 20 years ago, my call sheet was nothing but names and phone numbers and maybe the name of a company and a title. That was sort of it. It was completely static. I couldn't do any trend analysis against it. I couldn't connect any dots. Today, it's a little bit different. I'm curious to kind of get your, because I'm sure your son is utilizing technology differently than you do.
Yeah. And look, I've tried to embrace as somebody who, I'm not a millennial. I got 3 millennial children, 19, 22, and 25 right now. So they're squarely in it. They'd be an expert on your software in a couple weeks from today after not ever having used it quicker than I would, just because of what's intuitive to them.
Yeah, their brains are wired that way. That's right.
But you still, I don't know if I'm going to answer the question exactly the way you asked it, but I believe you still have to apply old school grind mentality to how you use the technology. It might not be a call sheet written out, but it's still make this many touches to get to this many outcomes. It's still that. It's not just, hey, I'm going to hire you to be my junior, go at it. It's, hey, I need this many outbounds a day. I need this many outbounds a week. I need this many conversations. It's all of that. We're coaching, not for recruiting, but for loan officers internally at our company. And we're literally have an old school sheet that we use.
Yeah.
Fill it out. Let's talk about it every week. If you fill it out completely, you'll see an increase. And it's the proof's in the pudding, man, because it's working.
100. The difference, though, when you were starting was you were getting those names and contacts of real estate agents from freaking advertisements on park benches. Now we can go into the data and we can say, show me every agent that meets a particular criteria within a certain mile radius of me. And now my call sheet, it might be shorter, but it's so wildly targeted versus before. There's less time wasted on opportunities.
It's still finding people that are systematic, willing to be systematic, willing to use it to schedule their day, and then going crazy with it.
Yeah, and then just murdering that list. That's right.
Murdering, correct.
Totally agree.
But a weak, somebody who's not weak, but somebody who's unwilling to put themselves out there with great technology is going to lose to somebody with the medium version who's willing to be systematic and go at it.
Well, okay, interesting thought, because I was thinking the other day that it was somebody asked me on another podcast, like, give me a couple of reasons why you feel like you've been successful, which by the way, I actually don't view myself as successful. It's because we just keep moving the bar every time we hit a certain level. There's levels to this game and the levels never end, sort of thing. But
my wife told me once that I'm the guy that runs all the way to the finish line and then stops 1 foot short and tells them to move the finish line further back. So I'm with you on this one, bro.
Oh, well, look, today I went home for my workout in my home gym and my wife pulled up, which I usually don't see her during that time of day. I just, go work out hard for 45 minutes, take a shower, come back home. And she looked at me, she said, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "I feel terrible today. I'm not sleeping well. I don't feel good. My body hurts. I have a headache. My neck hurts." And she said, because I pulled the box out, and she goes, "So you're going to do row sprints and box jumps?" And I said, "Yeah, because F me." You know what I mean? It's like, I'm just mad for feeling that way. So I'm going to go murder myself. But going back. So I was thinking, one of the reasons, whatever success I've had, it really just started off with, I'm not smarter than you. But I can outwork you. So I'm going to come in earlier. I'm going to stay later. I'm going to make more phone calls, and I'm just going to get beat up every day. And the outcome on the back of it is I'm going to have more deals than you're going to have. That by itself I don't think that works anymore. I think that by itself is a superpower, but if you don't partner it with the things that create the efficiencies to put you in a position to be in the right place, you can't just outwork the competition anymore.
No. You have the technology is an absolute necessity. I'm just implying that the grinder, even if they had, if you gave them the same version of your technology but half the speed, would still outperform the person with the full speed if they weren't the grinder.
100%. And they're going to figure it out. 100%. All right. What didn't we talk about that you want to talk about?
No, man, you and I, look, everybody, anybody listening to this, Eric and I have had these kind of conversations almost weekly for 15 years.
Oh, this podcast started 20 years ago with you. I mean, 15 years ago.
What you're hearing today is the polite version, just because I know that we're being recorded.
No, hey, man. I don't have sponsors. I have people, drop an F-bomb here or there, and they're like, is that a problem? I don't have a sponsor. Nobody's going to cancel me.
Eric, I'll end with this, though, man. Something else you and I have talked about that we didn't mention today. Collaborating with people within the industry, even though they're your competition, is a healthy and good thing. And look, this isn't campfire talk, everybody. This isn't, oh my God, we got to help each other and lift each other. There others say a version of that. And I kind of get what they mean, but I look at it a little differently. It's like, there is enough. This is not a zero-sum game. I've said that one for years. This is not a zero-sum game. My success is not, you don't have to fail for me to succeed, and vice versa. You can succeed and I can succeed at the same exact time. And I believe that. And, sharing without sharing trade secrets, but sharing, hey, here, I see something you're doing, it could help you. That's a game changer. Jan, look, the guy Jan that's working, Jan Oscar, that we're working together now. We've been friends for 25 years. We used to share things. He was at NFM. I was at Primary Residential. We shared things with each other. We wouldn't, give each other the absolute, what the secret spice in Kentucky Fried Chicken was, right. But would share with each other things we saw and could help each other. And we didn't recruit from each other. And we were friends first. And it worked. And now we're finally getting a chance to work together, which has been great. But that's not the moral of the story. The moral of the story is my company and my leadership and my success was more profound because he shared with me, and vice versa. He would say the same thing. And that doesn't mean you should share with everybody. You have to be a little bit skeptical sometimes. Because there are plenty of people that want information and don't really want to give any, or want input and don't want to give any. And you know what I mean? You know the type. But sharing with people that you trust and look, I'm working at a company that 5 years ago I would have never thought I'd be working here. And here I am, because that was somebody that I built a great relationship with slowly. We trusted each other to share some things, and look where it's led.
Man, that I love that. Relationships create multiples for each other, even if you're not working together. I completely agree with that. It's something I had to learn the hard way, because I wasn't an open relationship I shouldn't say open relationship. That's not what I should say, right? My wife probably wouldn't like I said open relationship.
I'll say that one.
I wasn't open to a million different relationships with people. That wasn't my normal style, but I learned not only the value, but also the fact that I actually like it. Okay, I'm going to kill the record in just a second. You don't go anywhere when I do kill it. But before we do, I know people can find you on LinkedIn. Look, I definitely think that you're honest when you say that. If somebody was to reach out and just pick your brain on something, you're always happy to have those conversations.
Yeah, look, you've heard me. I'm not going to mention anybody, but there's been some people in the industry that I don't know personally who I follow on LinkedIn. I've seen some of their stuff, and I've told you, I've been like, that guy, and one or two of them are people that I don't. I'm like, right. I really love their stuff. Please tell them I love their stuff. Yeah. I'm reading their stuff, even though they don't know me. They might know my name, but we don't know each other. But, it's important. If you see look, guys, look, everybody out there, somebody's posting something great, it's really touching you, reach out to them. Tell them. Can it make a connection? You never know where to lead 5 years from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now, whatever. But,
So people can find you on LinkedIn. Where else? Anywhere else?
We're directmortgageloans.com. All of our stuff's up there. LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook.
He's on Facebook. If you ever want to see I can tell you where he's going to be on Sundays during football season. Just go to his Facebook page.
That is factual.
You'll see the black and purple.
They can find me there.
You'll see the black and purple all over it. Hey, Dean, I know we've been talking about doing this for a long time. You're the best, man. Thank you for going on a little.
Love these conversations, my friend. And look, plug everybody. Model Match is the real deal. I've been an early adopter, and the first version wasn't so hot. I don't mind saying that on here, but it's phenomenal now, and it's an absolute essential part. It's up on the screen right over here. I got 3 monitors. It's right over there. I'm looking at it as I speak. So it's a great platform, Erica, and it's a game changer for the way we do business where we are.
Well, man, thank you so much for that. And I will say the first version, although I was incredibly proud of what it looked like. Yes, you're right. We blew it up, spend a ton of money, and finally get it right. And sometimes in business, that's what you got to do. You got to admit when you got to change your path.
You took input and you fixed. I mean, it's invaluable now, Eric. And I don't mean it was bad, but it wasn't invaluable.
I know. Look, thank you for the plug. All right. I love you, brother. Stay on. I'm going to kill the pot. I'm going to kill this. And we'll throw it up soon. We'll put up some clips. Dean Johnson, Direct Mortgage Loans. Thanks, my friend.
Thank you, Bob.